Blah 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 blah. Welcome to Magic Chatter. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Magic Chatter. I'm your host Cal, and in today's video we're going to be going through some expensive commander staples and things you can use as an alternative. Tend to be precise. Before we get started, I'd just like to say the Magic the Chatter on YouTube channel does have an affiliate link for Magic Madhouse in the UK, so if you do find yourself wanting any of these cards that we're talking about today, head on down to the description. There'll be an affiliate link for you to use there. Using the link is free and it helps out the channel immensely, as well as subscribing if you find yourself here often. Enough blathering, onto the video. So, first card we've got is of course Cyclonic Rift. A staple commander card that I'm sure you've seen before, and I'm sure you will see many times. But it is currently $27.97 on TCG Player, $34.99 on Magic Madhouse. It's a staple commander card. We all know what it does. So what can we use to replace it? Now, before we go any further in this video, I do want to address the obvious problem. A lot of the time, you are going to be substituting power level for price. It's just how it is. But that doesn't mean that the cards I'm going to show you today are all worse. In fact, there's a couple of them that I would consider running instead of. So let's look at what we can use instead of Cyclonic Rift, and that is River's Rebuke. River's Rebuke is 4 blue and a blue for a sorcery. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hands. On TCG Player, it's 52 cents. Magic Madhouse, 99 pence. Only affects one player, but sometimes that's going to be enough to win your games, and it's not instant speed, but it's a really good backup option at a much lower price. Yes, it's 6 mana, yes, it only returns one person's things, but if that one person is the threat, that's the threat dealt with. So, what about our next card? Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study is an incredible card draw engine and always gets groans at the table. Do you want to pay the one is one of the things I think I've heard most in Magic. So what can we use as an alternative for Rhystic Study? Because Rhystic Study is $34.64 on TCG, $27.99 on Magic Madhouse. It's an expensive card. So what can we use instead? Now, I've gone for Verity Circle. Verity Circle is 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. You can pay 4 and a blue, tap target creature without flying. And yeah, it's 15 cents on TCG Player, 39 pence on Magic Madhouse. The same cost, same type as Rhystic Study. It's a little bit less efficient, but I think in a game with Commander where people are going to have mana dorks, then you're going to be drawing plenty of cards. And if you're not drawing plenty of cards off it and you've got a lot of mana, you can always use it to tap down a creature without flying and draw a card. So I think Verity Circle is an excellent option instead of Rhystic Study on a budget. On to the next card. Smothering Tithe. Now, Smothering Tithe, much like Rhystic Study, are you going to pay the 2? Yeah, it's a real pain, and it can really get out of hand even in just a turn at the table. $20.04 on TCG Player, $22.99 on Magic Madhouse. Let's see what we can come up with to replace Smothering Tithe on a budget. And I've come up with Keeper of the Accord. Keeper of the Accord is 3 and a white. For a creature, human soldier, it's a 3/4. Beginning of each opponent's end step. If that player controls more creatures than you, make a 1/1 white soldier. In the beginning of each opponent's end step, If they're playing draws more lands, then you may search aloud for a basic Blades card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle. And on TCG, this is currently 14 cents. On Magic Madhouse, you can pick it up for 79 pence. It will make mana, not as much as Smother and Tithe, but it'll keep you at a level playing field with the rest of the game. Has the upside of giving you bodies as well. And if you are behind the game, Keeper of the Accord comes down, and each turn it's going to get you slightly closer to where you need to be. I think it is very cheap for what it does. I think this is the kind of deck that, even if you're in a two-colour deck, so you're playing Orzhov, I think Keeper of the Accord is really going to keep you going in a game. I think it's just a really good option, and yes, it's not Smothering Tithe, but if you can't afford Smothering Tithe, it's going to do a very similar job. So, on to the next card. Demonic Shooter. Now, Demonic Shooter is one of the more expensive tutors. It's $35.88 on TCG, $31.99 on Magic Madhouse, £31, sorry. And that's because it's so efficient and so low costed. And here we are going to be losing some of the efficiency because we are going to be going for Diabolic Tutor. Diabolic Tutor, 2 black sorcery, Sage Library for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. There's not much to say about this one. It's been around forever. Yes, it's more expensive at 4 mana, but it's so much more cheap. It is 65 cents on TCG, 79 pence on Magic Madhouse. Sometimes you just have to sacrifice power for budget, efficiency for budget, and this is one of those cases. Diabolic Tutor, yeah, you've probably played it before. So on to the next one. Esper Sentinel. Esper Sentinel, one of the Modern Horizons 2 cards, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I'm sure you will. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card. So we're looking for some white card draw. It's currently on TCG $20.58, £31.99 on Magic Madhouse, on the expensive end. So let's see what we can do on a budget to replace Esper Sentinel. And that is Secret Rendezvous. Secret Rendezvous is 1, a white and a white for sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. It is 15 cents on TCG, 20 pence on Magic Madhouse. Yes, it is less efficient at 3 mana, but it's going to draw you 3 guaranteed cards. Not like the Esper Sentinel that you play and then get killed immediately. And having an opponent draw 3 cards does feel bad, but there's no reason to say you can't turn that into an upside. You can use those 3 cards as a political tool, buy yourself some time, and I actually think Secret Rendezvous could be one of the better cards, especially in mono white where you don't have as much card draw. And now over the years we've definitely gotten better card draw in white, but I think Secret Rendezvous, if you have a pod of commander players that you often play with that are very politically driven, Secret Rendezvous could win you a game. So let's get on to the next card. Teferi's Protection. We have all been on the end of an unfortunate Teferi's Protection, and we've also all been on the end of a really fortunate Teferi's Protection. It is very efficient, it's in speed, it's $34 or £19.99 on Magic Madhouse. So what can we use instead? Well, it's a very recent addition actually to Magic. It is Perch Protection from Bloomburrow Commander, I believe. I believe it is the Miss Bumbleflower Group Hug deck. It is 4 and 2 white for an instant with gift an extra turn. We'll get to that in a minute. Create 4 2/2 blue bear creature tokens with flying. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out until your next turn. Your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. Exile Perch Protection. Yes, it is more expensive mana cost wise, but it gives you a board of blockers for the following turn, which is nice. And gifting the turn's not great, but you're phased out for that turn, so it doesn't really matter the biggest difference is in price. So on TCG, you can get page protection for $1.91. On Magic Madhouse, $2.99. It is very cheap for a tech freeze protection style effect. Yes, it's 3 mana more expensive and you've got to give someone an extra turn. But, as I said at the beginning of the video, sometimes you sacrifice budget for efficiency or budget for power. In this case, I think you're sacrificing it more for efficiency than you are for power, because I actually think getting the 4 birds as blockers for the following turn is maybe better than Death Freeze protection. I'll say it quietly so the comments don't shout at me. But I really think that page protection is one of those cards we're going to look back in 6 months to a year and this is going to all of a sudden be 15 quid or $15. And I think page protection is probably one of the ones that I'm going to pick up a couple of copies of from Bloomberg. So, on to the next card. Enlighten Shooter. Now, Enlighten Shooter, it's a 1 mana shooter at instant speed. It is incredibly efficient and incredibly useful in just any artifact or enchantment based deck. It is $14.17 on TCG and £20.99 on Magic Madhouse. So, what can we use instead? Now, this one is maybe less of a 1-for-1, but I think in most decks that are going to be running Enlighten Shooter, you'll probably be able to play this card instead, and that is Open the Armory. Open the Armory, 1 and a white, search your library for an aura or equipment, reveal it into you, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. 69 cents on TCG Player, 89 pence on Magic Madhouse. Yes, it's not a 1-for-1 replacement because of its restrictions, but it's an excellent choice for any Voltron decks that are going to be using auras and equipment, and it's so much cheaper. And I think the mana cost is still low enough where it's efficient. It's 2 mana instead of 1, and it's sorcery speed instead of instant, but Open the Armory will be able to find whatever you need. So, on to the next one. Jessica's Will. Jessica's Will is one of those cards that really does put in a lot of work in a game of Commander. You don't really notice it as much because it's not a card that's going to win you the game on, like, straight away, but it's a card that can give you so much advantage early game that it might as well win you the game. It's $18.35 on TCG Player, $17.99 on Magic Madhouse, and I've gone for a bit of a rogue one with this one. I've gone for Monastery Raid from the Assassin's Creed from the Assassin's Creed decks. Monastery Raid is 2 and a red for a sorcery with free running of X and a red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. If this spell's free running cost was paid, exile the top X cards of your library instead. You may play those exiled cards until the end of your next turn. So, it won't give you the mana, but it'll give you more card selection. And if you're playing a deck where your commander's going to be swinging anyway, you're going to be getting a lot with that free running cost, and you can pick it up for dirt cheap right now. TCG is 21 cents. Magic Madhouse is 25 pence. So it's going to be very, very useful at just getting you a lot of resources for the following turn and for this current turn. So that's my view on Monastery Raid. I think a lot of the free running cards from the Assassin's Creed set have gone under the radar. I think if you are playing any deck that is going to be hitting regularly with the commander, then Monastery Raid or any other free running card, slam dunk. On to the next one. Swansong. Now, Swansong, we've all been gotten by a Swansong, and it hurts. And most of us have probably gotten someone with a Swansong and it felt great. It is a 1 mana instant that counters something and gives them a bird, and it is very, very efficient. It is currently $10.22 on TCG Player, £10.39 on Magic Madhouse. Pretty cheap compared to the other things we've been looking at, but still up there. And the one I've gone for as a replacement for it is an offer you can't refuse. Now, an offer you can't refuse is 1 blue for an instant. Sound familiar? Counter target non-creature spell, its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. It is currently $2.70 on TCG, $2.99 on Magic Madhouse. It's the same cost, but it hits the same types of Swansong, but it also hits artifacts, battles, and planeswalkers, which Swansong doesn't. I think 2 treasures is a low opportunity cost to cast it as well. 2 treasures is, I think, worse than a bird. Obviously, it depends on the deck that you're playing against, but I think a lot of the times, them having a blocker is worse than them having 2 additional mana for 1 turn. Very cheap right now, but I think that's another one that's going to go up as time goes on. On to Dockside Extortionist, the Boogeyman of CEDH, the Boogeyman of any non-CEDH game where it comes down. It is $75 on TCG Player at the minute, and pretty much the same on Magic Madhouse, it's $74.99. It is incredibly efficient at making you lots and lots of mana. Now, I have gone for Mana Geyser as the option here. Mana Geyser, 3, 2 red for sorcery, add a red for each tap land your opponents control. Now, it's more expensive in mana cost, but time it right and you'll get 2-3 times as much mana as you will with the Dockside Extortionist. It is very cheap at $1.67, £1.19 on Magic Madhouse, and I think the overwhelming amount of mana you get off Mana Geyser. I have cast a few Mana Geysers in my time, and they were incredibly useful. I think that is probably one of the cards that I think is the most underrated on this list. If you are playing a big mana deck with some X spells or a spell slinger deck that can lower the cost of Mana Geyser even, you're gonna have a good time. And that was the last card of the day. So before we go, I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed that, please subscribe. If you want to see more of me, head on over to my Instagram. We will be having a giveaway there soon for 500 followers. If we can I want to try and get to 100 subscribers on the YouTube before the end of the year. If we do that, maybe there's another giveaway. We'll see. Yeah, head on over to my Instagram, _chattering. I'm on X at _chattering. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.